All right, what is up, everybody? Shell Scout 0013 here, coming in for a video here covering the Commander and Operative Darth Vader. I'm going to kind of cover the basics of them all, the kind of things that they can do, and kind of how you would maybe want to run them in different ways, maybe more offensive, defensive, but I'll kind of cover that in this video. And so if you haven't already, go ahead and like this video. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. Most of you who watch these videos aren't subscribed, so go ahead and subscribe. And then leave a comment below with maybe a commander or operative on any of the factions that you'd like to see covered, kind of a little bit more in depth with their command cards and other upgrade cards that you can put on them to make them different ways and kind of explain the different keywords and stuff that's on there. So we're going to start today with Commander Vader, and I'll kind of explain Operative Vader there at the end because it's going to be very similar, just a little different in how you might want to play them. Because the Operative Vader has speed 2 and it has a ranged attack, so he's a little bit more aggressive in my opinion than Commander Vader. But Commander Vader is going to be a very good commander in my opinion, and then he's going to be able to slice and dice away. So you've got to keep him alive almost at all costs. So let me just kind of run him down. So Commander Vader's got 8 wounds, which is a really, really high wound count. It's only one higher than his operative. So yeah, in this case with Vader, there's a really good trade-off between Commander Vader and Operative Vader. If you want to be more aggressive, for sure, go with Operative Vader. If you want an army that you think you're going to be able to do a lot with, I would go with Commander Vader. That's just plain and simple. If you like Vader and then you like all the other units, I'd go with Commander Vader. You still need to build a list around him big time because you want to keep him alive at all costs. Operative Vader, very, very aggressive. You don't have to keep him completely covered at all times. You do want him to stay alive as long as you can so that he can actually do some damage. But throughout the entire game, there might be some times where you just kind of leave him alone, or you might not run the IRG with Operative Vader. Maybe just because you wanted to run another commander or somebody else with that Vader. Now, if you wanted to make Operative Vader your main guy, you'd still have to have a regular commander because he's an operative and you have to have a command slot filled. But and he's way more aggressive, so you could do that. You can definitely do that and have your list still built around him. I think he's still a little bit cheaper, so that's great. He's got 7 wounds on the operative, but I kind of talk about that there. With Commander Vader, this right here, his courage, means that you're not going to put any suppression on him, and you don't have to worry about suppression. So, and if any core unit is within range 3 of Vader, they don't need to worry about suppression either. You can, as far as I know, you'd still put the suppression on them, but the fact that they're in range, that maybe they've got courage 1, maybe courage 2, it doesn't matter if they're in that range of Vader. They're still always going to get that one action no matter how many suppression they have. Now with his new Compel, now this card's going to come out with the new Battle Force that's coming out, so you're going to get the reprint. And I think that Battle Force makes a ton of sense with the fact that you're getting a ton of snow troopers with the Darth Vader that uses Compel. Now, and I'll kind of go over the snow troopers in a second, but I kind of want to just talk about the Vader. So Vader's Compel a core trooper, or Vader's Compel. He can compel a core trooper unit, not a special forces, not a support, not a commander, not another operative. It's got to just be core. Now, if that unit rallies and it's at range 1 to 2 of Vader, if it's suppressed, meaning that you have snow troopers at range 2 of Vader. So the courage bubble for them doesn't matter. You roll the dice, they still have a suppression left. So they are suppressed because they have courage 1, they have 1 suppression, but they're not panicked because they don't have double the value of courage. So this means that you can give those snow troopers another suppression. So they'll be up to 2 now to do a free move. And since they were suppressed, they're only going to get 1 action anyway. They can move a second time and then have steady. So meaning that they can fire and do a ranged attack after a standard move. So that would also be good. Or you could compel them to do a move, do your attack action, and then take a dodge. Or, you could do it however you want to do. It's just kind of up to you how what objective is around. Maybe they have the hostage. Vader can compel if they have, since the hostage units can have courage too, if your hostage unit has 2 suppression on them, and Vader's in that range, 1 to 2, he can give them a 3rd suppression to have them do a free move, and then they already are still going to be able to get that move. So no matter what, at least with Vader, Commander Vader, all of your core troopers at range 1 to 2 of him will always be able to do 2 moves, always. So that's one thing to think about. So if you are running the objective, let's see, if you have the objective of payload, basically you're trying to move your bomb cart at the end of the turn or at the end of the round, starting with the blue player. Each player's bomb cart may pivot and perform a speed 2 move if there are more friendly units leaders than enemy units at range 1 of it. So basically, if you've got all your guys around it, it's going to move. Now, basically, if you're a little bit far behind, you always get the 2 moves to get to it. Now, bombing run, say you've got a bomb and you don't have snows, maybe you have stormtroopers. You could give them that suppression when they already have 1. So you can give them a 2nd suppression for them to do the free action move. And then you can spend their only 1 action to do a move. So that would be fantastic because they're going to be moving at speed 2 rather than speed 1. Hostage exchange. So they're going to have at speed 1. So you might as well have tons of snows. I mean, that's obviously the best with Commander Vader, in my opinion. And then, so they'll be able to move. And since they're going to be a speed 1 anyway, their speed's going to stay at speed 1. So you're going to be able to move. Say you're suppressed, but not panicked. You can give yourself another suppression to move again. And then maybe you're still at range 1 to 3 of a unit. You can still shoot at that unit. So it's still like you're getting 3 actions with those snows. That's why I'm saying snows with Commander Vader, like this battle force coming out, is going to be insanely awesome, in my opinion, when it comes to being suppressed and trying to move these objectives. Also, maybe with recover the supplies, you do pretty well with, because you can make sure that they still get those 2 moves, even though everyone's shooting at them and they're gaining suppression like crazy. Still give them another suppression if you're at range 1 or 2 of them to get them a move, and then they can take another move. So that's pretty awesome. And then I think the other one was intercept the transmissions would be okay because you're trying to get in range at the ends of 2, 4, and 6. You're trying to get in range of the token, the transmission token or whatever it is. And so if you need that extra suppression to move, this Commander Vader does it. So that's Compel. And that's why it's so freaking awesome with Commander Vader being able to go with snows. I mean, possibly other like stormtroopers as well. So he's also got Deflect. So if you spend a dodge token, so say that someone shoots at you, 4 hits go through, you have a dodge, you spend a dodge to cancel a hit. You've got 3 coming at you, but now you also surge to defense. Not only are you surging to defense, but any surge you get when you roll those defense dice are going to be deflected back at the unit shooting at you. So say the 3 attack dice got through, you rolled, you got 2 suppression, or sorry, you got 2 surge and 1 block. So you blocked them all. You're not taking any wounds, but the person who shot at you is taking 2 wounds because you rolled 2 surges. It's nice. It's really good. But you got to really hope for those surges. There's not that chance is likely, but not like the highest. You still just don't want anything coming through on Vader. So you want as many dodges on him or out of sight, basically. And since he's only moving at speed 1, you've got a really, really slow moving army. If you have the Dewbacks, Snows, and Vader, Commander Vader, you got a really slow army. So good thing they came out with burst of speed, and I'll kind of cover that in a second. He's got immune to pierce, so no one in the entire game except Dooku can pierce him. Okay, doesn't matter. Master of the Force 1. If you have any so Master of the Force 1, basically, whenever you equip any of these, if they have the exhaust symbol at the end of at the end of his activation, you can recharge it. But I mean, force push, force reflexes are way too good. Force choke is really good on him. So you might not need those at the moment. And I'll kind of explain why I would pick different things for Vader. But yeah. And then he's also got relentless. So after you perform a move action, you may perform a free attack action. So, but you cannot attack and then move and attack. Even though it's a free attack action, you still can't attack twice in one turn unless there's a card that tells you you can do that. Kind of like Luke Skywalker's 1 pip, and Vader has his Implacable. So you can put his order token back in the dice pool, or not dice pool, order pool, and then possibly draw it again in enough time, hopefully, to do another attack at that point. He's got 3 force slots and then a command slot, which is great because now that command slot, I think it was new whenever he got the compel. And then he's rolling 6 red dice. So you don't need tenacity. 6 red dice is going to be fantastic enough. He doesn't surge. And with the rate of it, so if we just took a quick look of 6 attack dice that are red, you know, when you roll blank, blank. Okay, not right there, you're fine. There's a blank. So for the most part, blank. You're almost rolling 1. There's a blank, blank, blank because he's not surging. For the most part, you're going to want an aim. That was another time that you don't have a blank. 2 blanks, no blanks, 3 blanks. So I would still try to get an aim on him when you can, when he wants to attack. But that's just kind of, up to you and how you want to play him. Now let's kind of go over some of the commanding upgrades. So if you're going to run snows, they're already surging to hit. You probably don't need aggressive tactics for it. Maybe you're running the bikes in the battle force. They already surge. The dewbacks surge to hit as well. You don't need to do any of that, but I don't know if that you could use that in the battle force. Regardless, if you're not using the battle force, they still surge already. So the stormtroopers already surging too. So really trying to use aggressive tactics, you might not need. You never really need, honestly, with Commander Vader, because he's also going to have a command card that gives him reliable 2, basically. So he's, and it's permanent. So you're going to be able to give him 2 surge tokens every round. And so this is why I would recommend using this the very first round always, just to go ahead and give him that surge, the 2 surge tokens. Now, if we go back, commanding presence. Sure, when you're issuing orders, you can issue orders at range 1 to 4, but that doesn't increase his command bubble. Inspiring presence. Friendly units at range 1 to 4 can use your courage value when checking whether they are panicked. So unless there's a card that reduces that range from the condition. So if the War Weary. So when checking whether a unit is panicked, the range at which a unit can use another courage value instead of its own is reduced by 2 to a minimum of 1. So yeah, that would be able to reduce this card. But if not, using your courage value with Vader, I mean, he's got unlimited courage. So, and you'd be able to spread out a little bit farther and still use Vader's infinite value. As far as I am aware. So that's why inspiring presence, I think, would also be really good on him. You don't need lead by example at any means or strict orders. And then esteemed leader, sure. Maybe you definitely wanted to keep him alive, but if you're going to take the IRG, I think you're going to be okay. Improvised orders would be okay if you are bringing a lot of different units. So like a lot of special forces, maybe some dewbacks. You've got maybe all of your core. So there might be a chance that you're looking for a dewback at that time or a special forces, and you draw a core, and improvised orders wouldn't be that bad. I mean, so aggressive tactics, never really take. Commanding presence, I never really take, because you're always with Darth Vader's command cards, you're always giving them to him. So there's no point in having commanding presence. Esteemed leader. So if we're going with 1 as the most useful and 3 as the least useful, aggressive tactics is a 3. Commanding presence is a 3. Esteemed leader, like 2.5. Honestly, if I had to go in between. Improvised orders would be like a good 2. Inspiring presence would be a 1. I think that would be great. Lead by example and strict orders would be a 3. So very, very bottom. And then underworld connections would not be bad at all because of his compel, and because a lot of those pikes and Black Sun, being able to use your courage value would be way, way, way better. So if you're taking any mercenary units especially Pikes or Black Sun, I would take Underworld Connections big time. If you're just doing Empire, Vigilance wouldn't be bad just for Vader himself, but he's always getting shot at. So, and he's always using his dodges for the most part. So, Vigilance, I still put at a 1. Inspiring Presence, I'd put at a 1. Underworld Connections, I'd put at a 1, especially if you're using the Pikes or Black Sun. Improvised Orders, a 2. Everything else is a 3, if I had to rate it that way. So that's kind of what I would do. If you're trying to be very aggressive with your units and you feel like you're going to be suppressed all the time, or you're going to get shot at, or there's not much cover and stuff like that, maybe go with Inspiring Presence. When you want the Pikes or you want the Mercenaries, go with Underworld Connections. When you're just going with a regular old list and you want Vader to just kind of shine, go with Vigilance. That's what I would say. Being aggressive, right here. Being mercenary units, right there. Just being by himself, go with Vigilance. Now, for his Force upgrades, Anger wouldn't be that bad. Maybe a 2. It's just up to you. Battle Meditation, in my opinion, on Vader, I'm never going to put a Battle Meditation on him. When issuing orders using a command card, which most of all of Vader's command cards is only him. There's only 2 of his command cards out of 6 that give them to other people other than him, but every time it's giving them to him. The reason why Battle Meditation would make sense in giving it to him is because of that. Is because his cards only give them to Vader. Having Battle Meditation is better than Comms Relay. You could just give it to anybody on the board that needs it. In my opinion, it's like a 2.5, a 2, if you wanted, honestly, in my opinion, because I want Vader to have a token all the time so that I can choose to go with Vader at any point in time. So when I'm laying down one of his command cards, it's specifically because I need Vader to have a command card and an order. So that's why, in my opinion, Battle Meditation, I'm never going to take on him, but it could still be very useful on him, especially if you don't want to use improvised orders. Battle Meditation would be good too, because I mean, again, Battle Meditation is kind of like a comms relay. You, instead of giving it to the person on the card, you're giving it to someone anywhere on the board. Comms relay is only at a certain range, but yeah, and then this one can be to anything, to anyone. The other cards probably, especially, are giving it to another like core unit or something like that, or a trooper unit, I should say. Now, burst of speed, I feel like is a 1, especially with Darth Vader only having speed 1 to move. He's going to be able to do burst of speed. That's fantastic. So you can kind of keep him hidden. And then when people are starting to get close, you can use burst of speed to get him immediately into melee. So that way he's not getting shot at. You're keeping him behind. People kind of get somewhat close. You use your burst of speed, get into melee. You don't have to worry about people shooting you until you've already pretty much killed them. And at that point, hopefully you're giving yourself another command card that's giving you dodges. Now, burst of speed would also be really good on the turn of Implacable, because basically you can do your speed 3, into charge and melee, and then you put his order token back in. Maybe you killed that person. You've got another speed 3 move that you can do. Or you do your speed 3, you do saber throw if you have saber throw. And then on the next turn, you give yourself another dodge and you take another speed 3 move into melee with someone. And then the next turn, you can't move at all, because now you're going to have an immobilized token, which means it's going to take your movement down 1, and now he's going to have 0. So he'll be still, but hopefully he's in a situation where he's going to stay in combat. Fear, to me, that's a 3 at the moment. I wouldn't take fear because there's so many other important things that need to be on him. Force barrier for Vader is a 3, in my opinion, because I would probably use force barrier for Palpatine and Yoda, possibly even Dooku, because of Master of the Force 2, not 1. That these force slots are very competitive, and in my opinion, doing force barrier on Vader, yeah, rarity. It's a rarity, and even by then, I still don't think anybody would really use it too much. If you're trying to be very aggressive, force choke is a very good one for that. Sorry. So force choke, is a very aggressive one because you still have to exhaust it when you move, and you've only got one Master of the Force one. So especially if you're taking Force Push, which I feel like is a staple, you've got to literally staple it on that card and have it as a must, because Force Push has done so much to either win games or to force draws or to do anything. I think Force Push, especially since no other units can ever use any kind of free moving your opponent unless it's you've what is it, compulsed over them, and now you're displacing everything. So Force Push allows you to control it. So that's a must. Gotta definitely be a must. And then Saber Throw with Vader, he doesn't have any kind of ranged attack. So in my opinion, especially for it to be an aggressive one, Saber Throw would also be good as a must. So kind of for me with Commander Vader, I usually always take Force Push and always take Saber Throw. And then those two other options that I usually wrestle with are either Force Reflexes to give myself that free dodge whenever I'm not needing to use Force Push, and then I would just recover Force Reflexes so that Vader can always have a dodge, and then maybe his command cards are giving him another dodge. That would play it safe. If you're trying to be defensive with Vader, especially Commander Vader, I would use Force Reflexes big time. If you're kind of being, like I said, a little bit more aggressive, go with Force Choke, Saber Throw, and Force Push, and just kind of see what you can do. Now, Force Guidance is also pretty good because you can choose up 2 friendly units at range 1 to 2 to give them a surge, but I would not put it on Vader just for the mere fact that Vader doesn't need to waste one of his force slots to give other people surge tokens, especially when he's already going to get 2 himself. I'd give Vader the opportunity to attack or to do stuff for himself at the moment, not others. He doesn't care about others, he cares about himself. So that's another reason why I think Saber Throw, Force Choke, Force Reflexes, and Force Push are really the only ones besides Burst of Speed that I would put on Vader. Burst of Speed, I think is, I mean, I'll tell you how I run them. I usually do these 3 cards: Force Push, Saber Throw, and Burst of Speed. And then if I really wanted to, I would go with Vigilance, but that's because I use Vader always for himself. I haven't used Pikes or anything yet, so I haven't used those Allies of Convenience yet in Inspiring Presence. I haven't needed because I've pretty much kind of been able to keep people close. Now the other things, that is your Commander Vader. If we were to go with Operative Vader, he's a little bit different, and we'll kind of look over him. So Operative Vader, he's going to have Deflect, which is the same thing. So now you can actually read it. So when defending, if you spend a dodge token, you gain surge to defense. If it's a ranged attack, the attack suffers 1 wound for each surge rolled. Now, like I forgot to mention, you can use Deflect when you are, or you can spend a dodge to gain surge to defense in melee, but you can't deflect anything. Now, immune to Pierce, like I said, Pierce can't be used against you. Jedi Hunter is different. This one is kind of like the compel for Commander Vader. Jedi Hunter. So whenever you are basically so Jedi Hunter basically is going to be taking place of Compel for Commander Vader. So now with Jedi Hunter, when you're attacking a unit that has Force upgrade, so basically when you're attacking Dooku, Anakin, Obi-Wan, Yoda, Palpatine, another Vader, anyone with who has got the ability to use the Force, you're going to gain Surge to crit when you are attacking that unit. Then again, everything else is the same with Relentless and Master of the Force 1. The Commander Vader also had Impact 3 and Pierce 3, but I think I forgot to mention that. But this Operative Vader only has 5 red instead of 6. But he's got 2 training slots. So I usually use one for tenacity to make sure he's got that 6th one. Because that's super important to me. And then when you use his 3 pip to give him the permanent 2 or the permanent reliable 2, his Darkness Ascends, you're going to give him those 2 surge tokens. So even if he doesn't have a dodge, you're going to be able to use those surge tokens to convert into defense. Like I said, if you don't have those dodges. Now, you could also, if you needed to, use those surge tokens for the offense if you were trying to throw a attack, right? So sorry. Say you had an aim, you spent the aim, you got a surge and a hit, spend a surge, make it 2 hits, it's blast scatter. You don't have to worry about, it's basically sharpshooter 2. You've got sharpshooter 2 with this. And yeah, so you're always going to be able to get suppression through or at least a hit through if you roll a hit. So that's pretty awesome. He's only got 7 wounds instead of 8. He's got 3 courage, which is why I'm saying this one can be a little bit more aggressive rather than the other guy just kind of commanding your forces and making sure that they're all good. To me, this is kind of like Commander Vader or Operative Vader is going to be able to do well, hopefully beating the crap out of people with his IRG right behind him. Now, the force upgrade slots are going to be a little bit different, and the training slots are going to be a little bit different. But basically, the things that would go really good on him, maybe up close and personal, maybe, because you're going to have him in melee for the most part. So you're never going to really use a ranged attack. That ranged attack on there is just definitely in case. I'm always going to go with tenacity. Situational awareness wouldn't be that bad because, so say that someone still did shoot a crit and you had a dodge, someone's got a crit through, but you can't cancel that crit. You're still going to have to try to spin that dodge so that you can get a surge to defense. Or you could just use situational awareness and cancel that crit in general and not have to roll anything. I use seize the initiative a lot, especially if I've got another good commander or another operative on there. So last time I've played a list with a generic commander, Boba Fett, and operative Darth Vader. And I took seize the initiative just because I needed other command cards besides Vader's. So that's why I did that one. Protector, he doesn't have Guardian, so there's no point in using that one. Overwatch, I'm never taking standbys with Vader. There's no point. I mean, you could, but Vader's going either last or first or somewhere in between, or yeah, last or first, basically, nowhere in between, because I need him to go last and then first. Wow. Or he's going to go absolutely just first in general. Offensive stance and defensive stance, I'm never going to really put on him because I'm hopefully taking dodges or taking aims, maybe taking a dodge as an action, not so many times because I'm going to want to move with him. So offensive push would not be that bad. I think offensive push would actually be pretty great on Operative Vader as well. Into the Fray, if you want more surge tokens, by all means, take Into the Fray. But that's like a 2 in my opinion. Offensive stance is kind of like a 3. Overwatch is like a 3. Protector, you can't take anyway. Seize initiative is like a 1. Situational awareness is like a 2. Up close and personal is like a 3. Hunter, you can take Hunter on him. It's going to make him a little bit more expensive though, and I would just go with offensive push. But if you know you're going after Jedi only, then sure, Hunter would work, and that's like a 2 for me. Endurance, that's like a 3 because I'm never really going to use it. And then Dunk and Cover, I'm never going to use on him. So either offensive push, seize the initiative, maybe situational awareness if you really wanted to, maybe Into the Fray if you really wanted to. But for the most part, no. And then, so force upgrades. Because he's got a ranged attack already, we don't need Saber Throw. Unless you just really wanted Saber Throw. But that's up to you. In my opinion, I would either take Force Choke and Force Push, or Force Push, Force Reflexes, or burst of speed, and force push. Those are my opinions. That's how I would do it. Like I said, if you want to be pretty defensive with them, go with force reflexes, go with force push. If you want to be very aggressive with them, go with force push, go with force choke. If you want to be very, very aggressive with them, maybe go with burst of speed and force push. That's how I usually play. That's just me. All right, so let's go over his command cards because I haven't really gone over too much of his command cards, and this will be kind of like the final, almost the final thing. And I'll kind of show you a little bit more that I haven't gone over, just so you guys have a little better understanding of his offense and defense and synergies. So with Implacable, basically when Darth Vader activates, he's going to gain a dodge. At the end of his Darth Vader's first activation, he can suffer a wound to put his order token back into the order pool, and then you can draw him again. But during that second activation, he's only going to perform one action only, and only going to able to perform one action only. So you really want to use this whenever you're knowing you're going to get into melee, or that when you are into melee. So that would be perfect. And then Vaders Might. This card did so much for me, and I think I've explained it before, but it's a free action. You don't have to spend an action to do it. You get to choose a non-heavy at range 1 and place that unit on the battlefield within range 1 and height 1 of its current position. So, like I said, maybe you have now used burst of speed, and you put down Vader's Might. You're going first. You use burst of speed. You went boom, boom. Maybe you're not quite close enough to the enemy. So at range, maybe they're range 1, because if they're at range 1 and you do a speed 1 move with them, they're not going to get into melee with you. But what you could do is, if you wanted to, and it was like a big old unit of B1s or something like that, they could at range 1, you could move them within range 1, which might come to you, and in height 1 of its current position, in case you did want to move it away from you. So say that person had a bomb and you wanted to move that person back and on top of a building, you could just take that unit and move that entire unit on top of that range height 1 building and within range 1 away from you. So that'd be cool, but you're giving them defense. But then they're going to have to roll a white defense dice for each mini in the unit, and then that unit's going to suffer a wound for any kind of paint that you get. So if you've got 6 B1s and you just put them on top of a building and you roll 6 white defense dice, and maybe you got 2 paint, 2 of those droids are dead. But that's just up to you. Now, back to what I was explaining is maybe that you did your burst of speed, boom, boom. You do your range 1 to 2 attack. Maybe you get a wound through. You can do a free action to move them possibly into melee with you, or if they were just shy of melee, just say that maybe you pulled them into melee using this one. They roll dice, maybe another one dies. So you've got maybe 2 more people on you. You force pull, or you force push, I should say, with your upgrade here. You force push another unit that is in range 1, a speed 1 to you, just in case. Or you can, basically you get 2 free force actions when you use Vader's Might and adverse burst of speed. I think those 3 are a deadly combination. And so that's what I would do, is if you can find a way to use Vader's Might along with the other force push to do some damage, and then maybe his melee or his range attack, you're going to be doing a ton. And this is very deceptively good, in my opinion. Now, new ways to motivate them. 2 troopers also include dewbacks, because dewbacks are just creature troopers. So they're going to fall under the trooper unit. Emplacement troopers are the same thing. You're going to have your IRG R troopers, so they can take a wound to perform a free action. And that free action is a free action. It doesn't specify if it has to be a move action, an aim action, or an attack action. It could be any of those, just at least one of them. Fear and Dead Men is only going to give it to him. Now, when Darth Vader uses Deflect, the attacker suffers a wound for each blank instead of each surge. So when an enemy unit at range 1 to 2 of him and in line of sight of Darth Vader activates, Darth Vader's going to gain a dodge. This is a good way if he's basically in the fray. You're going to be able to give him dodges instead of surge tokens. But you got to make sure that you time it right, and it's 2 pip. So if they've got that 1 pip Son of Skywalker and they're coming in for you, or maybe they play 2 pip and it's just Darth Vader, you got to really, really hope that you go first and get that dodge token, take a dodge, and then do something, and then get into melee so that you're not stuck in ranged attacks. And then when everyone starts to activate, basically, yeah, so when an enemy unit at range 1 and 2 and in line of sight activates, so anytime that a unit activates at range 1 and 2 of him, he's going to gain dodge. So boom, nice. Master of Evil, Darth Vader, and 2 units. So this is the second card that gives not only Darth Vader, or just, it just basically gives 2 other units an order. And this is the, besides Master of Evil, basically new ways to motivate them. It's the only other way that Darth Vader himself is giving out orders to other people. Now, with this one, in my opinion, you probably don't want to be too close, but you would probably play this maybe after Darkness Descends. And then, so when Darth Vader is issued an order, he's going to gain a dodge. When Darth Vader, that way, if you don't have Force Reflexes, this card's giving you a dodge. This card's giving you a dodge for a ton of different people. And then his 1-pip is giving you a dodge. So these other ones not quite giving you a dodge. So half of his command cards are giving you dodges, half are not. So you just got to kind of be careful. And then when Darth Vader activates, each enemy unit at range 1 to 2 of him gains, each enemy trooper unit, sorry, at range 1 to 2 of him gains 3 suppressions. So maybe you might want to go give him this one and then have him go last. And then maybe then go with Vaders Might or Implacable. And then whenever he's tied up and around people, use Fear and Dead Men after you've pretty much already used a lot of Vaders Might and or Implacable. You've already probably used Darkness Ascends. So Master of Evil might be one that you have in your hand left. Fear and Dead Men might be one you have left in your hand, and or new ways to motivate them might be left in your hand if you have only Vader. Now, if you've got, like I said, Boba Fett, then you might have other command cards, but that's just kind of up to you. Now, let me just kind of go ahead and give you some of the things on this Legion Synergy tool from Team Relentless. Basically, if you wanted to, you could click Darth Vader, Commander. No other commander is going to go good with him. Also, he's super expensive. You're not going to want another one. You're not even going to want an operative. The best things to do is have core for Commander Vader. And the best core to have would be Snow Troopers. And the reason why, like I explained, was because if they gain Compel, you're going to be able to still do an attack action, even when you only have 1 action left to do, unlike Stormtroopers, Shore Troopers, and the Mortar, because you'd still be able to move under Compel, and then you could do your move action to shoot. These guys would only be able to move under Compel and then shoot. So that's why Snow Troopers are going to be even better. Scout Troopers Strike Team would be great. Scout Troopers wouldn't be that bad, but the Royal Guard are going to be the best. I would completely ignore Death Troopers, the ISF, or the Inferno Squad, mostly for the IRG and dues. Honestly, the IRG, they're going to be able to protect Vader through Guardian, and they're going to have, really good melee as well. So you're going to have, Commander Vader and Imperial Royal Guards, or the Imperial Royal Guards, the IRG, are there. You've got maybe like 4 snows. You've got 2 dewbacks, maybe 3 dewbacks. Pretty much almost everything is speed 1 except for your IRG, but they're always going to be able to do 2 moves for the most part. Now the IRG, they've got courage too, so they're not going to be able to use Compel, and neither are the dewbacks, but hopefully they've got enough courage to do a few more actions before they rack up too many suppression. E-Web, not so much needed, because also they're not a core unit, so they're not going to be able to get as much benefit out of Commander Vader as possible. The speeder bikes, sure, they're going to be involved with the new battle force coming out, but for the most part, they're going to be okay, but they're never really going to work the most with Commander Vader like dewbacks would. And then your lat would work well just to be able to put Vader in a closed transport, so he's never getting shot at, period. No one can target him until you decide to drop him or they completely blow up the transport. So you're always going to be able to get Vader into where he needs to be, more than likely with the lat, and he's going to be able to last a little bit longer than normal. I wouldn't put him in the Gav occupier tank because he's in the open still. Even though he doesn't have to move, he's still out in the open. You don't really want that. So that's why with Commander Vader, you really only want to stick with snows, the IRG, dewbacks, possibly some stormtroopers as well, because you're going to need core. And if you don't have enough snows, then that would be fine. Operative Vader, It's a different story. Now, Operative Vader is going to also go well with General Veers because of his 3-pip. His 3-pip has the ability to give Veers and 2 other trooper units an order, and then they can do a free recover. So maybe you put force choke on him, or sorry, maybe you put force reflexes and force push. Maybe you were only able to recover one of them. Now you're going to be able to recover force reflexes and then do that one again in case you used both and you recovered force push. Maybe you can recover force reflexes for free. Imperial Officer is what I used last time with the Operative Vader, just because she's a cheap option and she can still do pretty much what Veers can, just a little bit less. And then Krennic, I don't usually bring unless I'm bringing special forces. So he works well, but in my opinion, I think I would either go with Veers or the Imperial Officer. Any of the core units, you got to pick a core. It doesn't matter what core you pick. It honestly really doesn't matter. The snowtroopers aren't going to benefit with Operative Vader as much as the stormtroopers, as much as they would with the Commander Vader. But so stormtroopers would probably be a little bit better, and or shore troopers would be a little bit better. The IRG, again, with Vader, period. The IRG is needed. Scout Trooper Strike Team is probably going to be better than the Scout Troopers in general, because you're going to want to leave points for either the IRG or dewbacks. And then it's the same again with these. Operative Vader is going to just go well with dewbacks. I think Operative Vader and two dewbacks go really, really well. And then the last thing I wanted to kind of show you guys was the difference between Commander Vader and Operative Vader from a little while ago, at least. So the defensive rating is pretty high. Now, Vader with force push, saber throw, and making sure that he has dodges, he's going to have a very significant defensive rating. And because he's going to be able to surge to defense as well. Same with Operative Vader. Operative Vader, he's not going to be quite as high because he has less wounds, but because of the 8 wounds versus now the 7 wounds, you're probably going to, this is going to be a little bit better because your defensive ratings, Vader Commander is going to be able to last just a little bit longer than Operative Vader. Now, obviously, you can see their firepower, even with saber throw, is really not that high. Okay, they got a pretty low one. 6.75 is almost one of the lowest besides Iden over here, with just her ID10 and no weapon. But Vader and Commander Vader and Operative Vader have the highest out of the Empire melee rating. So you want, obviously, Vader to get into melee as much as you can. You don't want him shooting. You don't want him out in the open for very long, if even. But he's going to have a pretty good survivability rate if he's in melee, in my opinion. So that's why, he's probably one of the best defensive ratings, Commander Vader, because of the amount of HP he has. The Operative Vader is going to be really good because, again, it's red defense / surging to defense and possible when he deflects, and he's going to have 2 surge tokens with him at all times. But yeah, you want him in melee because he's going to be doing fantastic in melee. So he's got 6 red dice. Maybe you don't have an aim because maybe you had to move. If you're going against, a dewback, or you're going up against, well, let's just say that you're going up against, other Empire. They're not going to have a dodge. Maybe they got a suppression token. They don't really have anything. When you roll, you're always going to be getting pretty much 4 through. So maybe let's say that you're going to face Sabine. Maybe Sabine has a dodge that she can use. She's got impervious. So she's going to be able to roll extra defense dice when she needs to. And so if you rolled against her with that 1 defense dice, you're getting 2 wounds through, which is not bad. You're probably going to be getting 3, but if you were to try this with anyone else, especially maybe you had like some shores who could do, let's see, 4, 5, 6, and then 2. You had a full set of shores against her with no cover, but the suppression. Let's see. Yeah, very, very similar, but you're probably going to, take out the pierce, take out the impact. Yeah, you're probably not getting very much through, if anything. Yeah, 1. I mean, I'm telling you, Vader's probably going to do the best. I think he's got one of the best attack stuff in there. He works well with a few different ones. And then, like I said, because he works well with a few different things and it's mostly generic stuff anyway, keep Vader alive as long as you can. Okay. And that's really it. That's everything that I have on you. I know this probably took a little while. If there's other things that you'd like me to rearrange, or there's other ways you'd like me to talk about him, or if there's anything else that maybe I missed, or maybe you'd like to add on here, go ahead and leave a comment below. And definitely definitely subscribe, and I will pick out another commander unless somebody else has a suggestion for next time. And yeah, I will catch you guys in the next video. And if I'll kind of cut in between in and out of these between these and maybe lists, so that way you're not just getting one thing only at a time. Maybe I can kind of dose you a little bit. All right, guys, and that's it. Hopefully I will catch you guys in the next video.